probably one of my most, or one of my retail rants that I've wanted to do for the longest time is about putting your shopping back. If you don't want something, what, like cold I'm talking, or frozen, why the fuck are you putting it on a shelf? Are you telling me when you go home, you take, I don't know, some chicken or some mincemeat out the freezer, and you think, do you know what, where this will look good? In my cupboard, so it can get nice and warm, and then, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it back in the freezer. No, you don't. You leave it in the freezer because that's where it's supposed to be. Do you know how many times? And the worst bit is, it doesn't annoy me because we're losing profit and everything. Because we are losing profit when people do that. It annoys me because there's so many people starving in the world. And you guys, I try my hardest to find shit like that and put it back before it goes bad, because there's so many people starving in the world, and so many people just like have no food in their fucking fridge, their freezer, their cupboard, but yet you want to waste food and you don't care. I've seen people take out like £8 steaks, then they realize it's £8, so they hide it somewhere, and then at the end of the day when I'm cleaning, I'll find like steaks underneath like a pack of tissues that are hidden at the back, and I think, just walk to the back and put it back. Do you know what? If you're disabled, you have some kind of problem, what, mobility-wise, walking, I will put it back for you. I've had disabled people before do the same thing. Oh, I don't really want this. Do you mind? And they're nice about it. Do you mind putting it back? Because they know they can't walk back. I said, that's fine, darling. Or that's fine, mate. I'll do it for you. Because you've, like, it's not even that you have to ask me. Like, I'm saying that I'm just going to stand there waiting for you to ask me. I'll put it back if you can't do it. But there's them people who just, it winds me up. There's nothing wrong with you, and you just don't care. Like, you waste stuff all the time. The amount of times you'll bring like 6 prawns down to the front and you're like, me only need 3, and you put the other 3 on the thing is, you're putting it somewhere where we can't see it. It's not like you're giving it to us. Some people say, oh, I really don't want this, or do you want me to take this back so it doesn't go to waste? And if there's someone on the shop floor, I'll be like, do you know what, don't worry, I'll call them the headset, get someone to do it. If there's not, and I'll say, do you mind doing it? Like, I don't mind. I sometimes, because obviously, as you know, well, I don't know if you know, no, none of you know this. When we're on self-service, we can't leave self-service. The amount of customers that come to me, this is a separate rant I'm going to do, that come to me, oh, can you just do, and I say I can't, and they're like, you're so rude, and I'll be like, I can't leave self-service, I am on self-service, I'm the only one with the keys, I have to stay here to serve the people on self-service. It's the equivalent of being on till. I wouldn't just walk off when I'm on tills, I have to stay here. So if you come to me on self-service, I can't put anything back for you. But if you come to me, when people come to me on self-service and they hand me stuff and say, oh, I don't want this, I can put it to the side, radio someone, saying, oh, I've got chiller put back, I've got something for the freezer. Someone comes down, collects it, puts it back. Everyone's happy. No food's wasted. We sell it. It's all good. So please, please, just stop wasting food. I honestly, it angers me watching people waste food, because when you see like certain conditions people live in, and you see the two different walks of life, like, I see people coming in who have, you can tell they have like money to burn. Like, the stuff they buy, they come in and, like, Lidl's quite a cheap shop, but they manage to do like £150 shop, because they buy, because obviously Lidl has its cheaper range, but Lidl also has its expensive range, its deluxe section. So you get them people who come in and they get like the 8 sirloin steaks, they get all the expensive shit. And then at the end, when it comes to, I'll be like £150, they tap their card for contactless. I'm like, you can't do that for £150. Like, oh, and they always make a comment about how rich they are, their money or everything. And then you get the people who you can tell are poorer by what they're buying, the way they're adding it up. At the end, they say, well, can you leave this? I only have £10 or that. We need to get to this. So then you could tell they don't have money. And ironically, the poorer people are fucking nicer. The poorer people are the ones who don't waste food. They're the ones who say, oh, I can't afford that. Do you mind putting it back? The rich people do not give 2 shits. The richer people are invariably, what I've seen, are the people who will put something back on a shelf, like, to hide it so we can't see it. I've seen people with less money come in and be nicer than people with more money. And I don't understand why, if you have more money, you're more willing. Because, like, I don't know. I think personally, because if I had a lot of money, I would be much nicer, because I know how it is to go from being poor to having money. Do you know what I mean? I feel like richer people that haven't been poor and have kind of been born into richness don't understand how it is to be poor. So I feel like that's a separate conversation for another day. But yeah, just stop wasting food. If you have something cold, 2 things: put it the fuck back on the shelf. If it's frozen, you put it back in the freezer. If it's from the fridge, put it back in the fridge. But do not put it on a shelf, just a shelf with like tissues. Or for example, you've got loads of like stuff. Do you know how much steak mince and prawns and shit I find put behind the cereal boxes, or in the cereal boxes, are like inside it in the aisle and that. And sometimes I see people do it. It's not just like, oh, it could be the same. It's different people. You see it, they'll have something and you'll hear them on the phone like, oh, what, we don't need the beef mince. Oh, all right, Margaret. And then they just throw it back on the shelf and walk off. And I just look, I've had an argument, but I've had numerous arguments. People saying, why don't you put it back? And they're telling me, why don't you put it back? And I said, well, why the fuck are you wasting food for? Like, there's people out there starving and you're just throwing it on the shelf because Margaret doesn't want, like, her beef mince tonight. Like, no, put it back. I have had, I can't tell you how many times I've had arguments and shit, but just put your stuff back. Like, stop wasting food. It's not even like I'm having a rant because I'm like, we're bleeding. Stop wasting. It's just waste. Like, you have people out there on the streets. You have people out there starving, but yet you want to waste food. At the end of the day, if it was reverse roles and you were the one starving on the streets and you saw someone who could, like, who had the money, who just thought, oh, fuck it, I can't be asked to walk for... It's always like, do you know what? People can't be asked to do something that doesn't benefit them. That's simply what it is. I've done a rant about the trolleys. People don't want to put it back unless they have a pound in it, unless there's a gain for them. People don't want to put stuff back on the shelf because it's an extra 20 seconds on your day walking back. At the end of the day, you're going to waste that 20 seconds doing something stupid later on. So add that 20 seconds that you would have had the extra 20 seconds watching, I don't know, the credits of a film on Netflix. Put that 20 seconds into putting something back. Yeah.